Okay, let's take 2 breaths in and out. Breath in, breath out. Breath in, breath out. Okay, I'm feeling better. Are you? So, obviously, things are a little nuts right now, but I wanted to talk about maybe some things that are on people's minds, or they're on my mind. And this video, I'll try to keep it short, is just going to be around triage. So every time I talk, I will bring up a particular subject. This subject that I wanted to bring up was in regards to how do we deal with limited resources, and what is the responsibility of people, the powers that be, and that sort of thing. There's a lot to consider right now. Government right now in basically every country is considering what the finances are going to be, how that's going to affect trade, working with other countries. The health of people, of course, is the reason why this is happening. Food security, mental well-being. It's clear that no one was really prepared for this. There are countries that were prepared. Look at Taiwan as a good example of that. Most countries I don't think were. And now we're dealing with that. So what happens when something like this happens? Well, I guess I should explain triage. Triage, to me, my understanding of it, I know it does come from the term where basically medical professionals, maybe, on the front line or in war or that sort of thing, maybe, there was a big explosion. There's, 20 soldiers that are injured and there's only 10 beds, let's say. I'm just using an example. And so they have limited supplies, they have limited nurses, they've got limited everything. And so they have to decide how they're going to deal with that, because they can't just go in and give everyone the best care possible to every single soldier. And there's a lot to consider in that. When it comes to our hospitals, and I would say just every hospital that's overwhelmed, there are certain things that they're going to have to consider. So, one would be age. If there's a 70-year-old and a 2-year-old, who is going to be the most needed? Or I don't even know how to explain it, because I was thinking it's not really value, because both are valued, but there has to be some way to kind of decide on those things. And so one of them would be age. One of them could be job profession. If it's a doctor and they need more doctors, well, then they might try to save the doctor first, right? And that doesn't mean that anyone is less important. It's just that there's only 10 beds and there's 20 people. And everyone could have their own opinion on it. Maybe your opinion is that it's first come, first served. The first people that come in get it. Or maybe you think, like, if it's, in, healthcare system in the US, maybe it's whoever has the most money, they get a bed, right? I know that it would also depend, because I've looked it up. It also depends on health conditions. How healthy is that person? If the person is already dying of cancer and they've got COVID, well, they're probably not going to be a high priority to save. They already do that stuff with transplants. So these are the kind of things that the doctors in Italy are making right now, and chances are in New York as well, which is really sad, which it means that some people who possibly could have been saved if this was any other situation, but because there's so limited resources, they have to do things that they would not ever want to do. One doctor in Italy said that it reminded him that of when it was wartime in Kosovo. I don't know a lot about that war, but um, any type of war situation is pretty dire, and that's what they're experiencing in Italy. And that's why we're taking it so seriously now, is because it spread so fast in Italy, and it's just um, beyond anyone's realization. Um, that this grew really quickly, and so because it grew so quickly, governments at this point are struggling. They're struggling to figure out what to do. They don't know what to do. They if we employ something where there's a full ban and everyone has to stay in their house, how are they going to get groceries? How who's going to be working in the grocery place? Who's going to be near my house? There's a toilet paper factory and they're working overtime. I know it sounds funny. I hope if someone's listening, I hope they're laughing because, yeah, they're working overtime. Um, and we don't know enough about the virus. So, what I'd say here is that they're going to have a plan, but they don't have one right now. And that creates panic. If there was just, and because we're so connected in this whole world and everything like that, we're hearing different things from everyone. I really started to think about it. I was like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like, I don't feel like I have clear direction, you know? And that's panicky for me. Even, as a social worker, it really panics me. And I can sense that panic in every Facebook, comment section and this and that. Someone might offer something, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh, it should go here, it should go here, and it's like this panic because we want to be able to help and we want to be able to provide for our families and everything, but it's super scary. So the government's going to have to make some tough choices, and they're going to have to triage their country. Um, this is really separated not only into countries but also towns. Everything, every community is going to be dealing with this a little differently, and there's going to be a lot there to work on. What I'd say is have some patience. I know in Canada, they now have made the mortgages, I think you don't have to pay them for 6 months. And then someone was panicking because they would eventually have to pay that back. And so then they were panicking about that. And it's like, well, don't expect the government to have all the answers at this point. It's just not going to happen. They're trying to do the best they can, they're implementing things when they can. And there's just a lot to consider for them right now. And we can't expect the government to have all the answers. I mean, we probably should expect that they'd be more prepared, but that's not the case. It's very clear that they do not know. And at the end of the day, government are just a bunch of people. And if I was up there in government, I'd probably be freaking out too. I wouldn't know what to do. And everyone has their own opinions on it. I'm sure it is so panicky over there as well. Um, and definitely on my level at my work, we're all panicking too. How are we going to do this? They're saying we should work from home, but we have a job where we have to go out and assess risk of abuse. And so that's something where we do need to be connecting with people. but it's also, we're working with really vulnerable people. So there's so much to consider on so many levels. I'm not sure if this helped at all, but I hope everyone takes some deep breaths and just be appreciative of being able to breathe right now. If you can breathe, then that's pretty great. And things will get sorted out, but it's going to be a long road. This is, and we don't know how it's going to end up. So, but there are a lot of people that want to help, and we just need to organize how people are going to help, and that will come every day. We'll get more. Stay safe out there.